All right, here we go.
Good morning. Is it morning over
No, afternoon, but that's okay.
there? It's morning over here. It's about, I think, 9:30. I am in a hotel, if you can't tell.
Hmm.
Um, we had a family member had this great career advance, and there was a big party last night. So I'm in the LA area right now, and we went over there and celebrated the accomplishments and didn't want to drive all the way home. It's not that far, but it's an hour and a half, and we have little ones, and we're gonna leave late, so we stayed the night at a hotel. So here we are. I was just telling my Mariano, I was telling him yesterday when we were at the hotel, I said, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember this, that's right, when we were little. When we would go places, we would camp, we wouldn't go to hotels.
Hmm. Well, like we wouldn't go to an event and camp somewhere, but we would go camping. Yes. But when we went on vacation, we wouldn't go to a hotel. We'd camp,
So yeah.
right? Uh-huh.
So we wouldn't go to a destination to camp. We would like road trip, and
Right.
in the stops we would camp. We
Hmm.
wouldn't go to a hotel. And it was kind of off the wall because I was like, we should have just went to a campground, not a hotel. But I what I was trying to get at with that, because we don't plan, um it's always an event. There's always something happening. So it's not really, and it's not really going out on vacation. It's
Going to
there's
go
always,
do something. Uh-huh.
yeah. And so how are we how do we do all that, and then also on top of that plan camping and vacation when we work? So I mentioned that last night. We checked in the hotel right before we went to the gathering, and I was like, what if like next time we plan it more to where we go to a campground, and then we go to the thing, whatever it is, and then we go back to the campground. And it sounded, I think I overwhelmed him with that request. And uh what I'm getting at is we were at the gathering, and someone was there, a little girl was there, and she was telling me that they're camping.
Oh, how funny. They are camping. They went camping.
That, yeah, like they're, because she was telling me about this thing that happened at the campsite, and I was like, when did that happen? She said today. Like, you, she had a dress on, and I was like, you're camping right now? She's like, yeah, we're gonna go back after. And I was blown away because I just talked about that, and of all the things I was just talking about that, and then this family is camping. Uh, These things brighten my day. These things lighten
Yeah.
me up. These things are just like all these like connections all the time. I see them everywhere, and I don't know if it's always been there, and I just never noticed
Mm.
because I was down in my down on myself, down just low and not aware, I guess.
Hmm.
I'm not really sure, but I I see these things happening all the time to me, and it is magical, and I get so excited. I brought it up a few times last night. Like, how crazy is this? I was just talking about this, and I just, those things happen to you
All the time,
all
absolutely.
the time.
So whenever, and I get super excited, and usually when I talk to my husband about it, I'll say like, okay, I know that this is really little and silly, but it's a really big deal to me. And he'll say, okay, that's cool, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. and
Yeah,
and for
it's
me, I always see it as confirmation that I'm where I'm supposed to be. It reminds me of my favorite Bible verse, seek and you shall find. And I feel like when your eyes are open and you're like experiencing life and being mindful in the moment, then you can experience these different things. And I feel like it's a sign, like confirmation. So, absolutely, something happens in one area of my life. I have this conversation with someone, and then, another area in my life, something else comes up where it's like exactly the same thing. I'm like, how does that come up? Like, what? Oh my gosh. So I love those things too. They also get me excited. And I always tell me, I know it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal to me. Okay, that's cool.
Yes,
I love it.
it all that stuff excites me and gets me excited for what
Life.
the day, like what
Yeah.
magic is going to happen
Yeah.
today. And we've mentioned this before, but every time something like that happens, I want to bring it up because it's just so
Mhm.
exciting. And
Yeah.
I'm also bringing it up also because I had a friend call me this week and she was asking me how do you do it all? And I didn't that was like I said hello, she said hi, how are you? How do you do it all? Like it was like, oh, what? How do I do it all?
Mhm.
Um and these things I told her like my day,
Mhm.
like what my day looks like, but
Logistically.
I what
I said logistically, like how you
logistically,
do.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, right. But I would tell her I don't do it all. I can't do it all, and um, if I, but this is what I do, and a lot of it is mindset, though. A lot of it is mindset, and it's like that, like this example of yesterday, and how exciting and wonderful that was for me to experience. And another thing is I'm mindful of what I listen to, and we brought this up before, but I noticed when I listen to music, which is fine, but the music I listen to is not very uplifting. And I noticed I like the beat, but the words, who really, I don't know, who really listens to words when they listen to the music. Uh, but it gets in me and it changes my mood. And I never really noticed that because I always listen to this music that I like, but it always got me in a certain mood.
Mm.
And I was always in a certain mood and I didn't know it got me in a mood. I was just always there. And now that I separate from that and I listen to uplifting things like podcasts and things like that, it totally changes my mood or how I feel that day. And I listen to inspiring things in the morning on my way to work and all these things. And I told her that like I make sure the things that I consume, uh I'm mindful about it. I'm mindful of what I watch or look at or listen to, and that's what helps me get through the day. Work, go to work, be a mom, be a wife, all these things.
Yeah. That is so perfect, especially because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's a big thing that we talk about in our podcast and in our
Yeah.
conversations, is about mental health awareness. And I love what you say, like what you consume, you're cautious and conscientious of it now, and to make sure that it
Conscience.
feeds you and not depletes you. Um, I as a social worker in my role right now, I work with, a lot of single working parents. Majority of them are women and have multiple children and work full time, but they're a single parent. And they always inspire me. Like, some of them, the conversations they talk about just how life is overwhelming them and they feel like, um, they can never get ahead, or all the different challenges, and that's my role also, so that's totally appropriate to have those conversations with me. But some of them, are just super positive and like, oh my gosh, this happened, but I'm choosing to look at it this way, or maybe it's an opportunity. And I just love those conversations with they're hardworking and single parents, multiple kids. They inspire me every day. Like, I love my work because a lot of them don't have family support, and but it's mindset though. Like, you could be the married person with children and not have to work and be depressed and feel like, oh, my life sucks. Or you could be, it just,
Yeah.
the situation does contribute, but majority of it is mindset on how you view things and look at things. And we have the power of changing our mindset, or feeding into, positive messages about ourselves or for ourselves. Exactly what you said, like listening to podcasts. One of the things I help my clients with, creating goals and helping them achieve those goals over a year of time. And a lot of times I mentioned self-care, and a lot of women like, oh no, I don't have time for self-care. Like, it seems like a luxury, right? Like, I, I work full time and I have these kids and I have to do this all on my own. Like, self-care is a luxury. But we do have that conversation of like, even self-care of um, what you listen to, or how you're caring for yourself in the hard day. Like, I don't want to see you get burnt out, because that happens so often. And so we brainstorm different activities that fill them up, or thing, even if it's just doing something once a month and being deliberate about it. Like, self-care shouldn't be a luxury. Like, it should be, we really need to tend to ourselves and care for ourselves, right? So
Yeah, you made me think of the image of, like, if a plane's going down, you need to put the oxygen on yourself so you can help other people. If you're tending to other people, you're not
useful,
tending to
helpful.
yourself, you can't help
Yeah,
anyone else.
yeah,
That's what I pictured when you were saying that. And
yeah.
it's so true. Um, self-care. So in the mornings, I get up and I get my two little ones ready for the day, which my 3-year-old, I don't really get her ready because she goes to grandma's, but my son, I get him ready for school and get all the things and make sure he has his backpack and his all this stuff. And then I take him to school and then I take her to grandma's and then I go to work. So at the end of the day, when I get off work, I I go home and I have about 20 minutes before Mariano gets home with the kids because he picks them up. So I have 20 minutes to breathe and switch my hats from engineer, working person to mom and wife, and try to um, turn the knobs or whatever you say. So um, it really helps that
Mm,
20 minutes of just switching. And
yeah.
I didn't do that before. I was
Just rushing into
I
the next thing, or
yes,
mm,
yes. I, and not, and everything bleeding into everything else, and not
mhm.
really, I'm worried about, I still do. I'm not saying I'm this doesn't happen, but what I was gonna say is I used to blend work with home, with everything was all the same, not the same, but everything was all clustered together. I since having my second child, uh, I've learned to be able to separate it, but it does take work because there are
Mm,
situations at work that I think about at home that
mhm.
it's hard not to. But I do intention. I'm intentional about it and uh, try to not blend the 2
Hmm.
or 3 or
Hmm.
whatever it is.
Yeah, that
Being
is
in the moment.
another great example about self-care and being intentional. Yeah, I think a lot of, like I said, a lot of people think self-care is like a luxury. I don't
Mhm.
have time for, I don't have money for that. I can't afford that. Well, yeah, self-care could be a day at the spa. I'd love that too, but I can't afford that either. I do other
Mhm.
things. Um, and that reminds me of when my son was about 3 years old. He was a very spirited child, is what we say. Like, we didn't have another one until he was 6, because we were like, oh my gosh, we can't handle him. We must be failures as parents. Like, obviously, this is just out of control. He was just very spirited, very headstrong, very emotional, and a lot of fun and a lot of energy. But anyways, he was about 3 years old, and I was a social worker at a time, working with children who had been diagnosed with like a mental health, a mental illness, and they were receiving mental health services and like wraparound services, and they had therapists and social workers who would go in and help with behavior modifications and work with the family. And it was a very stressful, intense job, because all of the kids, there was a lot of stress. And I was on call. That was my week to be on call. And um, I picked up my son from daycare. It was like 6 o'clock, and he's having a tantrum in the car. And then my on call phone starts ringing. And I was like, I'm having my own crisis right now. Like, I don't know how to deal with this 3 year old that's like freaking out. And I'm going to have to like pick up the phone for this person's crisis. A lot of it was suicidal ideation. Like, the kids were, you know, having hard times in that way, or cutting or run away. It was very intense stuff. And I was like, you know what? I need to get a new job. And so, even mental health awareness, I think, is also knowing limitations and when it's time to change if it's just too much. And I did end up um, changing my position from the social work realm to administrative work in the office and supporting the therapists and social workers and stuff, and did that for years and was happy, because it was like, oh, lower the load, my mental load, I guess. Like, I was able to just go to work, do it, and then come home and focus on home. But I had to reach that point of like, this is not good for me, or my kid or my family or whatever. Yeah.
That's a good point. Really good point about knowing your limits, setting your own boundaries of what you cannot handle. And it doesn't mean you're weak, or doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
negative. It's
Yeah.
just taking care of yourself, because no one else
Yeah.
is going to do it for you. Who
Yeah.
if something's too much,
Make a change.
really evaluate it,
Yeah.
and see if that's too much. Like, you don't push yourself so hard that you burn out and
Yeah.
just can't take in nothing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really good point. You're making me think of my life right now.
uh,
What is
oh,
too much?
what's
Because
that line?
I'm
Mm.
thinking that right now. Actually, I met a old coworker this week, and he gave me a tour of where he's at. It's really cool, the stuff that he's doing. And I was thinking, what am I going to update him on me? And I'm like, I'm I work at where I work, and I have my own business, and I'm doing a podcast, and I'm all these things, and I'm like, that is way too much, Michelle. Like,
Mm.
you need to, well,
Focus.
I don't know. That sounds like way too much. Oh,
Mm.
not how am I handling it? How am I, like,
Mm.
I'm not looking at it as I have all this and this and this and this and this. I didn't look at that until right now, when I was like, how am I going to update him? And you know what? That it
Mm.
didn't even come up. I didn't even update him. Like, I didn't even bring up what I'm up to. It was all about what he's into, which is great. I didn't
Yeah.
have to talk about
Yeah.
myself. Uh,
Didn't even
but
come up.
when I thought about it, I was like, wow, that is way too much. But old me, that's way too much. You can't, there's no way you could do all of that. And I don't look at it as all the things I have to do. I think that's what helps. I'm like,
Mindset
okay,
on
I'm
how
doing
you're
this right
viewing it.
now, and I'm doing
Yeah.
this right now, and I'm like being in the moment, I guess. This is what I'm doing right now, and in a couple hours I'll be doing this right now, or in a couple hours I'll be doing. I don't see it all the whole encompassing thing of all these things I have to do. Yeah, that's the difference.
Mindset
Big
and
difference.
how you view
Yeah,
things. Yeah. Yeah. That is good. Hey, since this is Mental Health Awareness Month, which I love that there's a month to highlight it, but we should always be aware of our mental health year round. Um, but I do want to check in with you on how you were doing. Um, I'll give
with
a quick recap if you've been following along on our journey over this past year. It's been a year that we've been having our week, not weekly, regular talks.
yeah,
and Michelle was diagnosed with depression, clinical depression, decades ago, and has seen psychiatrists and been in therapy and was on medication. And several months ago, she decided to not take medication and just use the tools that she has to see how she does with that and how and try that. And Michelle has done that before. Both pregnancies, you stopped your medication, and so you have done that before. But you were looking forward to. I mean, that's a whole tricky situation because the
yeah,
hormones and pregnancy and change of life, like that's aside. But now, just living life, like, hey, I'm going to try it. So she has it. A few episodes ago, she shared some of the challenges through that and the tools that she's been using day by day. Is that a
yeah.
good recap?
That's a great recap. Yeah,
Okay. Anything else to add about that for the recap? Because we've shared this multiple times along the way. So you
yeah,
just, if you're new,
right.
getting caught up.
Yeah, just to like, we're not telling people to go get off your medicine. It's just sharing where I'm at and what I'm going through, and
Yeah.
this isn't any advice on what you should be doing. You
Yeah.
have your situation, and I've been in therapy all since I was 12. I was It wasn't therapy really, it was psychiatry. I didn't know that there was a difference. Psychiatry is for medication, and therapy is to give you tools. They don't prescribe you medicine, it's to help you cope with life. So
Can
I've
you
done both.
can you pause really quick? Actually, Michelle, I'm telling you this, and viewers, you can listen. But I watched this really interesting documentary on YouTube. I'm gonna just say what it was because it was about um medicating normal is what it's called. How big pharma makes healthy people sick, and it's called, like I said, medicating normal. And I watched that the other day. It was just really interesting because someone goes in to see a psychiatrist. Here are my symptoms. And they say, oh, we're going to prescribe you this for this and try this. And then they take the medication and they have these, what are the side
Side
things that
effects.
they, side effects. And then, oh, now I'm experiencing this. Oh, okay, we'll prescribe you this and this for that side effect. And then it just turns into this like evolving thing. And another thing, I know when you guys see commercials and stuff about medication and they do these crazy side of, oh, and especially depression, it's like, oh, risk of suicide and risk of further damaging thoughts. And it's like, well, this medicine is supposed to help
Yeah,
me not have suicidal ideation. Or some people who are depressed start taking the medication who had never been suicidal and then they become suicidal because of the chemical thing. So super interesting. I would like for you to watch it. Just a side note in talking about medication. Like Michelle said, we are not experts here. We are not doctors. We're experts of our journey. We are not doctors.
Right.
And do your own research, but be mindful. And if you do need medication, then that is fine and great. And hopefully it's helping you. And if there comes a point where you want to try getting off, be uh, advised by a professional and work with someone to do that. So you haven't taken it for, are you still on no medication, or what have you decided to do? Where are you at today,
I'm
actually?
still, yes, today.
Okay.
Yes, day by day.
Mhm.
I haven't taken anything since September 2023, and we are in May 2024. And I'm still medicated free, if that's how you say it. By I'm not. So before I would keep trying to get off medicine, only because it numbed me. It helped with the depression, but it also numbed me. I everything was
Mhm.
even, which is great when you have depression because you're way down here. I don't know how much
Mhm.
I'm in the camera here. um, but I would just it wouldn't go. I wouldn't fully feel stuff. So I been on medicine from age 12 to how old am I now? 39, with breaks, but I I want to really live, but I would try to get off with a professional like guidance. They're still seeing a therapist, all these things. Um, they would advise me to get back on it because of me talking of my feelings or where I'm at in life, and they're like, well, you know, I know you want to be off it, but you really need to get back on it. Things like that.
Mhm.
This time, I doing it not just to be off medicine. I'm very mindful, intentional of how aware of where my thoughts are going and redirecting. I'm always redirecting my thoughts. Last week you were asking me how work's going because there was like I had a rough patch with work, and I said it could be great and it could not be. It's like I picture a coin, a quarter, laying on the table, and heads is a good day and tails is a bad day, and it's like right here. And it's however I look at a situation, it could be
Mhm.
tails or heads. It's and it's the
Mhm.
same situation. It's how I look at it.
Mhm.
And before it wasn't. I didn't have control over that. I
Mhm.
was just reactive of situations of how I perceived it through my own lens, which was still unintentional of how I was perceiving things. It was just however my default was, which was always negative. But
Mhm.
now I'm I have the tools, and also being mindful of what I consume, what I look at, what I
Mhm.
listen to, all these things. It's nonstop of
Mhm.
uh, intention. I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this is living intentfully and of how I want to experience life. I didn't even know that was possible.
Good for you. I love that. I wanted to take some notes, but I don't have a pen, so that's fine.
You're gonna take notes of what I'm saying?
Well, I think that could be the great name for the podcast, Living Intentionally. Intentful living.
Oh,
I was like, oh, that's a good
intentfully.
podcast name. But
Okay, I
anyways.
see.
um
Yeah, very. I didn't know that was possible though. I thought life just happens and
Happen
you're like life is
in the
wind
wind.
and you're just being
Yeah.
blown you're a leaf being blown everywhere. That's how
Hmm.
I always lived. and I didn't know that you can actually choose not to go with the wind.
Hmm. Hmm. Good for you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. So, what happens on depressed days, sad days? Do you have those days?
I do,
Or maybe they're
and
not days, maybe they're moments. I don't know.
um no, it could be a day.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
I but I, before I would be like, here we go, and then I just go with it.
Go with it.
I
Uh-huh.
don't fight it. Okay, here's a good example. I don't I don't cram it down, I don't fight it, but I also don't join it and go with it. I let it go through me
Hmm.
versus um yeah, versus going with it and then just getting lower and lower and lower and then just getting stuck down there.
Yeah.
Uh
Like
I
accepting it.
I yes, I
Mhm.
accept. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like this, and then I try to like analyze why, and then I'm like, you just have this is what you have,
Mhm.
but it's not you. Before it was like I that was me, and now it's just I experience these
Mm.
things, and then I let it. It's hard to explain. I need to really take note of how I me saying I let it flow through me because I do, but I need to take note on how I actually do that to explain it better.
Yes, good. We have had a lot of personal conversations about that, about just recognizing the feeling and just letting it go. And one of my coworkers, she a couple of years ago, we were talking, and she was like, kind of picture this situation or problem or issue or intrusive thought or whatever. Picture it like just a balloon. Like you see it, you observe it, it's there, but you just like visualize letting it go. You're not trying to pop it, you're not trying to ignore it, you're not trying, like you see it, observe it, and just like let it go. As you were talking, I kind of saw that visualization. That's something that I'm working in counseling right now, actually. And one of the things that I saw a few weeks ago was this quote from MJ Fields. It says, I mean, I'm sorry, it's not MJ Fields. It's J. Mike Fields. I don't know who that is, but give a credit to them. Accepting the emotion you're feeling gives the power back to you. To avoid is to amplify, and to acknowledge is to release. And that's exactly
That's
what
it.
you, yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to read it again. Accepting
Yes.
the emotion you're feeling, accepting. And that doesn't mean, um, it doesn't mean like taking it on or becoming it, or just accept, like, okay, I have this emotion. Accepting the emotion you're feeling gives the power back to you. To avoid is to amplify, and to acknowledge is to release. And I think it's true. A lot of times, if we have these like bad feelings that we don't want to accept, or we don't want, we avoid it or suppress it or push it away. Apparently, that amplifies it. But just to say, like, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now. I accept this. It's not right or wrong. It's just a feeling, and just like you said, let it flow through you and move on.
Oh my God, that's it. Oh, great. You worded it perfectly.
You
That's
said
it.
it. You said it. I
Yeah,
just saw this quote from a few weeks ago. I screenshot it. I'm like, oh, that is so good. Yeah.
that is. That's it. Thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
So glad you found that quote because
Yeah.
I was struggling to describe it.
I
Yeah,
would
if
like
you
for you,
go
because
ahead.
you said you were going to be more mindful of it, just like how you do that, because
Yeah,
all this is kind of abstract and sounds like, okay, well, that, it sounds good, but I don't know how to do that. I think
yeah.
that if you could also you share with us in the future on how you do, like, acknowledge and accept a negative emotion and let it flow through you. My default was to reframe. So a lot of times I wouldn't accept
Mm.
a negative emotion or disturbing emotion. I would try to reframe it positively, because I also feel like it's like how you look at things. You can have one situation and feel one thing about it and be grumpy, blah, 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 or you can see the same situation and just, look at it in a positive light, um, but not accepting that emotion, just pivoting it and reframing it, which might not be the best thing actually. I mean, it is good, but that's been kind of a struggle that I've been dealing with, is like I have my default is positivity, but there were things that I wasn't addressing because I just reframed it in a positive way versus like addressing some of the underlying things going on. Does that even make sense? I don't know how to verbalize
That
that
makes
either.
sense. And
I wish I had
maybe
a quote
to
I could.
that makes sense. And to maybe go deeper into that is, so like what you're saying, I think reframing is what has kept me going.
Yeah.
If I didn't reframe, I would be a mess.
Yeah.
But for what you're saying, I think if it's a constant, you see a pattern of a, a specific, uh, hmm, a pattern of a common theme of something that you need to reframe, then it's something you need to address. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like
Agreed.
uh, I can't think of something. Um,
I have a
some,
superficial one. Like I love
there you
hot
go.
fudge brownie sundaes, and obviously they're not good if you eat them too much. So maybe just is so superficial, but like, oh, you know what? I'm eating this hot fudge brownie sundae. I worked hard this week. I can eat it. That's fine. This is my treat. And then again tomorrow. Okay, well, I don't fit into my pants anymore, but that's okay. I have a treat. Like I deserve this or whatever. Like it turns into like a negative pattern where you're reframing it positively, but it's really probably not doing you any good. It's the
That's
best
great.
I
That's
could
a
do.
great
It's like
example of a pattern of
yeah,
a common
very
pattern that needs to be addressed that you keep reframing. That's good.
yes, yeah.
So
Good point
reframing,
about the pattern.
yes, reframe. Please
Yeah.
reframe. It
Hmm.
saves so much drama in your life. It saves so much miserable uh situations in your life. But if there is one that keeps coming up, uh then yeah, that needs to
Time to
be addressed and
dig deeper.
acknowledged.
Yeah. That's good, Michelle. Hey, we didn't really know what we were going to talk about today. We were like, let's just catch up, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation. Hey, do you want to talk about our last podcast or our last episode?
Yes, I failed. I you
That's not what I
Desiree.
meant. I didn't.
Reframe.
Yes.
I attempted to take over hosting the Zooms, and I did it at the park, and I recorded, and it was great. It was a good conversation. I felt, um, but the video didn't record because I recorded from my phone at the park, and I didn't do it from the laptop like I did on the one before that. So it grabbed the audio and it didn't grab the video. And I do apologize, but lesson learned, don't record off of a phone or
Phone.
know what you're doing.
Or practice
We did,
before. We should have
yes,
practiced.
yeah, done like a short little one. But we didn't want to scratch it because we thought it was a meaningful conversation. So we still wanted to post it. And thank you for being patient with us in our learning journey. My learning
Yes.
journey. Desiree's a pro. I'm new
Our
to this.
learning journey. Our learning journey for sure. Um, hey, I was thinking I kind of want to go. I'm going to pivot a little bit. Do you, because I know, do you have anything more to say? Let me tell you what I was thinking was you're talking about camping. That is kind of blowing my mind. Like you would go to like, oh, okay, we're going to go to this party celebrating someone's accomplishments. Let's camp. I mean, I guess it's making a vacation out of it, but I think first of all, we have a trailer, which is like so easy because we have beds and a microwave and a stove. But I think like they packed up like their tents and sleeping bags and stove and clothes and
Yeah. So we don't have anything. This is
you
why I
no
brought it
wonder
up.
why your husband was like feeling overwhelmed. Like, you want to go
Yeah.
camping? With what?
The conversation has to be brought up. Uh, it has to start somewhere. We don't have anything, and I didn't mean it to happen on the next
Yeah, trip,
event
but
or
yeah.
whatever. But I wanted to start planning that. No, I wasn't. I need to be more specific with him because I saw his face. I wasn't saying it. Hopefully he's watching. No, just kidding. I'll talk to him before then. um, I, I'm not saying let's go out and buy an RV. I'm saying uh, rent a pop-up tent or rent an RV or even buy a tent or and take if the thing's on Saturday, let's take the day off Friday and go and have a day camping and then wherever it's at. This is not local stuff. This is where things are an hour plus drive where we would normally stay in a hotel. Oh, let's go to, I mean, and would it be camping like in the woods with, it would be glamping. Like there's campgrounds. I'd have to look into it too of where it is and all that. But there's campgrounds that have bathrooms and
Yeah,
a pool and
yeah.
so
Aren't they
it would be
expensive
that.
too? I think campgrounds are expensive, like $100 a night or something, 70 or
That's
80 or
cheaper
something.
than a hotel.
Hotel. Yeah, that's
Hotels are
true.
like 300.
True. You could have
Oh,
bought a
depends
tent for
on
that.
what type of hotel you stay at, but
Yeah,
just like the one I'm at is like
a
three
couple $100.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
I know what your husband's getting for Father's Day,
a tent and
or a
some
sleeping
sleeping bag.
bag, or a lantern, or
Yeah, I just remember us
great memories.
experiencing it and
Yeah.
it helped me with I think if we didn't camp, I would be very opposed to outside.
Okay. You like your appreciation and enjoyment of the outdoors probably started in from
With
childhood experiencing camping. Do you
yes,
remember that one time we went camping where there was a whole bunch of frogs in the bathroom?
yes,
What pine crust or where
yeah,
what was it is it
pine
called pine
crest,
crust? Was it
pine
in
crest, yeah,
Julian Mountains?
yes,
Okay. Yes, and we were running around chasing all the little frogs. How old
yes.
were you then? I must have been
I think it was
10 or
7.
11. 7, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 7. You were
Maybe.
11, and yeah, the frogs were in the bathroom. Little frogs, little not toads.
Tiny
They were
little,
little
yeah.
cute little frogs, and I played with. I had them like it would grab onto my finger, and I like have them do um uh, exercises, like jumping things. I would do that to like all of them. Then we went
Yeah.
in the pool, and they were in the pool too. But
Yes,
then
that
like
pool there.
when I was 7, when I was 12, I got a wart on my finger,
You
and
thought it was from the frog.
I think it's from the frog.
5 years later, maybe. See what happens. I shouldn't have played with the frog.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Our parents were great. I think our mom was a big proponent of pushing the camping thing. We did a
Yeah.
lot of KOA camping and road trips camping, like drove from San Diego, drove up to Canada and camped all along the way, and from San Diego to Texas, I guess,
Yeah.
and all Grand Canyon and lots of great vacations growing up
Yes.
camping. Mhm.
Yes. Yes. Good
I don't
memories
remember.
and
Yeah.
camping.
We're going camping next weekend, actually. Uh,
Oh,
Um, yeah.
Memorial Day.
Yes, we're gonna go Friday through Monday, so that will be really nice just to get away. And our camping is with a travel trailer, so we tow it behind our car. And I love our setup. It's like, I don't know, 24 foot or something. It's not humongous, and like I don't think I would ever want like a big RV that is like I have a friend who has a really big motorhome, and it's beautiful. Like it has its own separate master bedroom, and it is beautiful. But I don't know. I even feel a little bit like our trailer is too much when we're camping. Like my daughter's never been tent camping before. We've done a ton of camping, but it's a good medium of like has all the facilities. I'm just really happy to have a bathroom, and then we go out and play and stuff during the day. Yeah. Speaking of camping, we're going next week. I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. I need to do that for my little ones to
I
start
love that idea.
enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah. Michelle, this was a fun convo. I forgot about those frogs camping. Like I forgot about that memory. That was really fun to remember all of that. And I love that you want to do that with your kids and started the conversation going of I can just imagine Mariana. What did you say? Hey, next time we go to an event, we should camp instead. We don't have a tent, or
I,
what'd you say?
yeah, I think it was like um we should let's start camping instead of
Okay.
hotels.
Okay.
Uh
Okay.
yeah, it was a really out there thought, but out there because we never I think Mariana and I have we've been together for 10 years and we've camped twice.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not a thing
Yeah.
and
But
I want it to be a thing though. So
yeah, I love that. That's awesome. If anybody has any extra tents or sleeping bags, message us and we will pay for shipping to Michelle's house. We should start a camping cause. Okay, we can donate to the camping cause. All right. Well, this was a great convo. I always love catching up with you. Thank you for sharing where you're at and being vulnerable and honest about your journey. And hope that all the listeners, maybe you got something out of this. If you did, please send it to someone who you think would also enjoy this conversation or could get value or be inspired by it. This is what it's all about, to keep the conversation going. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe because you will get notifications of new episodes, and it just helps with all the algorithms and all that stuff I don't know about. So, with that, I think we're done here. All right, Michelle. Well, we will talk soon. Join in for the next combo and hope you guys have a great week. Bye.
bye.